guest on the program this afternoon is Barrister Dorcas Atinuke. She is a legal practitioner with over 15 years of experience, specializing in family law, including matrimonial courses, child rights, wills, probate, and maritime consulting. She is a chartered arbitrator with expertise in commercial transactions and maritime service delivery, and a certified family life coach with training in family systems engineering. Dorcas Atinuke leads Family Laws NG, her law firm and family law brand, and is the author of Legal Sense, mini book series on seller covering legal topics such as marriage, divorce, adoption, and small business finance. She is active online as Barrister Wonder. All right, that's a short introduction. Yes, a short profile of my guest on the show this afternoon. But basically, let's talk child labor. It is not just a violation of rights, it is a silent threat to a child's mental and emotional well-being. While the physical dangers of child labor are often highlighted, its psychological impact remains largely unseen and unaddressed. Children forced into labor are not only deprived of their childhood, but also exposed to chronic stress, fear, trauma, and isolation, experiences that can leave deep and lasting emotional scars. And this discussion brings much needed attention to the invisible mental health toll of child labor, including anxiety, depression, PTSD, and emotional withdrawal. Many of these children work long hours in unsafe or abusive environment without protection, care, or the emotional space to process their experiences. The premature burden of adult responsibilities weighs heavily, often impairing their ability to learn from healthy relationships and thrive later in life. Lagos, Nigeria, join me in welcoming Barrister Dorcas Atinuke. Good afternoon.
Good afternoon. Thank you very much for having me.
How are you today?
Fine, thank you.
Okay, that's a typical of a lawyer. You know, they just they sound like someone with few words, right? But have you ever seen the sticker, "I am a lawyer, trouble not my hobby"?
It's not
right?
all of us.
Not all of you, right? Okay, so when you hear them, you know, this soft spoken, do not mistake it for gentility. You know what they say, gentility isn't stupidity, right? So let's keep it that way. Good afternoon to you once again, and welcome to Safety Train.
Thank you.
All right, then let's talk about child labor and what are the most common psychological effects of child labor. But for the sake of those who do not have clear understanding of what child labor is, after all these, things I just mentioned, can you break it down for a layman?
All right. So I'll start by saying that this discussion today would be taken off from exploring what are the laws that we have in Nigeria and also Lagos State regarding the topic. So we have the Nigerian Child's Act of 2003, which covers, laws of Federation of Nigeria, and also we have the the Child Rights Laws of Lagos State, 2015. Now, the definition of child labor under these two statutory provisions is that every form of engagement, number one, of a child that is below 18, although there's been a review that where the engagement would be for educational purposes, that is where a child is taken for internship, then we could look at a child around 15 years old.
Okay.
But when we talk about proper labor, right, any child that is below 18, it is illegal for such a child to be engaged in any form of labor or work that is going to affect the child's social, and educational life. So in a situation where you're taking somebody that is below 18 for domestic service like we have, which is common around, or such a child is seen on the road, trying to do traffic. I mean, what's it called? Traffic sales.
Okay, to hawk.
To hawk, exactly. All of that amounts to child labor.
In this Lagos?
But that's what the law says.
Okay.
So probably that's what we are saying, that domestic servitude, street vending, maybe you even see them in construction sites or agricultural labor, which used to be what we have. You have parents having a lot of children because they want them to work on the farm. The law says that is categorized as child labor. This is hazardous. It's exploitative because you're not going to be paying that child because the child is not supposed to be there. And that takes away the child even from going to school at the appropriate time. So those are the things that the law covers to mean child labor.
But are the laws actually covering all of this?
Yes, they do. I just read out the provision of the law.
It's one thing for the law to be stated.
Yes.
It's another thing for it to be enacted.
Yes, if you look around Lagos, you realize that streets vending has reduced a lot. Remember, there was a time that there was indeed an onslaught. They pick all those children off the streets. All this, what are their name now? Tax force. Yeah, Kai. They pick them off the streets, and their parents are made to come and get them if they have any. And if they don't, there are a lot of corrective facilities where they put them and they engage them, they train them.
I think
so. Lagos State did that quite well, and I think that a lot of other states are doing it. Yeah, it's not totally gone.
Yeah.
But it's reduced drastically. So the law is taking its course.
Hopefully we'll get to do more in terms of that. But then let's look at the effect on these children now, because, some of these things can actually be tolerated, can actually be managed by adults. But then on the children, why is mental health often overlooked when discussing child labor? In this part of the world, you hear people say, oh, I gave birth to the child. The law did not give birth to the child for me. The law isn't going to sponsor the child for me. So why would the law dictate what I do with my child?
Well, the first correction we try to do for everybody, no matter where you are, as long as your child has a birth certificate that is given to you by the government, the purport, the reason for that child certificate is to say that that child, even though birthed by you, is a ward of the state. So that birth certificate is an identity that the child carries to say that the state can at any point in time say that this child that we issued this child certificate for, please bring that child. You understand what I'm saying? So yes, you give birth to the child, but the child is first of all the word of the state. So where we see that you are mismanaging the life of such a child, the state will step in. That is number one. Number two, talking about mental health, I think that one of the things, right, is because a lot of our parents are also not raised right. And so they raise children at the level that they also understand. But what we are doing now is to make sure that we have a campaign round that, yes, the fact that you were raised on the available knowledge at the time does not mean that the same thing should be transferred down, because now the society has changed. The knowledge available is different, and the kind of challenges that are facing these children are totally different from what we have at the time when parents were growing up. So yes, mental health is a thing right now. So that's why one of the laws that Lagos State put out is that you do not cane a child, because psychology made us as cleared it that it is not in caning that the correction is, rather it is in trying to engage the mind so that the mind understand the reason why it needs to change its ways. You can keep beating a child and it feels that and that's why a lot of them just grow thick skin. That what would mommy do? She would just shout. What would mommy do? She would just beat me. But you are not getting the correction that is. So psychology says that engage the mind. Let there be communication. Talk to that child. Let the child understand. And that's why a lot of children today, they are full of questions. And we say that encourage them to ask. Don't shut them down. That is how their mind, that is how you can actually get to train them the way you want them to turn out. So yes, mental health is a thing within children today.
While we clamor on engaging them, while we clamor on talking to them, do not forget that it is one thing to talk to them. It's another thing to understand that they pay attention, they watch other things. Remember,
Yes.
as humans, we filter what we want. We choose to listen to what we want to listen to.
Yes.
Mommy says, "Oh, it is not good to do this," and then I turn to my tab or my phone, and then I see something else that interests me. Where do we draw the line between, these devices and what we say as parents to our children?
Yeah. As parents, it's a lot of work on our side. Parenting in the 21st century is not a child's play. It is actually work. Every parent is called to duty, right? Because the distractions, your children don't need to go and look for them. They are available
Everywhere.
So that's why we say that it starts from you as a parent. You have to cultivate the environment and community that you want for your children.
Okay.
So that when they come across these things that have distractions, when they come across these things that makes them curious, they will come back to you. But where you do not create an environment that is receptive, that is open, that is when some of them will find porn online and they're unable to discuss with their parents because the fear of mommy shouting, you not even listen, you just shout. Just don't worry, there's no need for me to talk about it. So we're saying that create a community, create an environment that is encouraging for your children to be able to open up to you. And then also make use of technology. Yes, children have tabs and all of that, but also Google has a way where you can monitor what they do on this tab. So as a parent, you are expected to open up to technology as well. You cannot save them away from it, so you have to get involved.
Parental control.
So you must understand that, okay, they're on this tab, they're on their tab at this hour.
Yes.
And so whatever goes in their radar goes on your phone. So you also know. So as parents, you need to be open to this, particularly if you have children that are still underage. So it's a call to duty for parents at this time. We all carry our phones around, and we know, if not for anything, you want to have a phone at home for your children to be able to reach out to them. You understand? So with that, they still have access to a phone. So it is your responsibility. So create that environment, encourage them to always talk, to always open up. You understand? Do not be district. Yeah, at some point you may need to introduce it, but let the major environment be that of communication, community that is open to talk, everybody discuss. Find time with your children alone. Have dates. It doesn't necessarily have to be outside. You can decide that, okay, Thursdays are for Tope. I was good today. 30 minutes, just gist, talk around that. It makes that kind of child.
In your career spanning, over a decade and a half, in recent time we have seen a lot of cases whereby, children's behavior are being informed by what they see in their immediate environment. When I say immediate environment, I mean in their homes. A lot of the character that children, exhibit, especially when they grow up, are things they saw growing up. Right. Yeah. Aside the era of technology and all of that, we understand all of those things, and hopefully with time they might, be able to filter all of that out. But you see, those things they grew up with in their immediate environment, how then can we curb all of these things? What are people like you doing to actually help in reshaping these things? Especially when it comes to family affairs.
Yes, thank you. We've realized, for us to have a different world, we need a different set of people. How do we get different people? Is by having a mind shift. So what we encourage parents, and this we do by having different parenting training sessions, is that parents need to by themselves heal first their trauma. A lot of parents today are still, I wouldn't call them children, because if you look at their age, but a lot of people have grown up with trauma. And this is being uncontrollably transferred to their children. That is why no child came to this world with any attitude. It's picked up by what is saying. The mother shouts, the father is never available, And so the child knows that, okay, dad is never around. Mommy, you can't talk to her. Or mommy too will go, and when she comes, everybody's kitchen straight. There's no time, So they pick up all of these things, and then the only place they have to actually engage and be themselves is where they're in school. Now, the teacher cannot use the how many hours, 9, 10 hours in a day, to actually mold your child. So as parents, you need to first of all look at yourself, understand that, see, I also need to do this work. Please, parents, you can't do this. Parenting in the 21st century is not, this is how my mother did it. No, you need to give yourself to training. So when you see parental training, I put it up on my page online. We have a lot of sessions where we ask parents to come. And most often, you see parents even, unburdening their trauma by reason of these lectures, because they now are able to trace the reason why they also behave the way they do. And so when they now realize that, wow, so this is it, it's easy for them to correct it in them and in their children, So we see parents, that's a part of the task that we give parents, that you go back home when you realize, encourage, call your children and talk. And you see, what we have come to realize is that children that themselves and their parents are like friends, they grow to be better people.
All right, then. In this era, one thing, as a matter of fact, the Lagos State government, has been championing the cause, is domestic violence. And these are some of the things that children get exposed to at a very early stage and grow up with. Can you give 1 or 2, 3 tips on how to, manage these kind of situations? Because a reasonable percentage of children are actually, seeing all of these things at home. Truth be told. But how then can we manage it?
So parents, what we say is that it's a sin. Consider it as a misgiving from your part to allow your child see you break down law and order in the home. Yes, as adults, conflicts would arise. However, you need to first of all understand that you hold a duty of care to your children. So there has to be an agreed conflict resolution style that's already agreed. Maybe when it comes up between you, husband and wife, you drive out of the house. You go and settle it. Or you have a time, but not. And then when as much as we try to do it, we encourage never to allow breakdown in communication or anything get to violence. Try as much you can, please. Domestic violence is not acceptable, allowable in any way or form. Any way or form. And this calls for, when you see things breaking down, you cannot get healed in the same environment that is breaking you. The same knowledge that you have that is causing conflicts cannot heal that conflict. So you may need an intervention. The story that you should not bring third parties, please, it's not working in this age. You need an objective bystander, observer, that would be able to look at the issues for you and be able to help you identify what the problems are. So as parents, where you know it is necessary, seek counseling, so that you know that it is your responsibility to your children. You don't want to raise a deformed child. You don't want to raise a traumatic child. Something came up, a video is generating online now of a man who grew up with his grandparents, but were expecting his parents that was going to come back from abroad. And they came back and they couldn't relate to him. This person that was speaking is already in his 50s.
Wow.
And he's never been able to forget the fact that the parent that he's been waiting for, in fact, he said he bought a chicken, and he was rearing it, that his parents were going to come back. That when they come back, they're going to eat the chicken.
Wow.
And they came back, and they couldn't even hug him, or they wouldn't even carry him. And you can imagine a man of 50 years old still recounting that story. It tells you the effects that he's already had on him. So that's what we are saying. Domestic violence will be worse off. So you don't want to create that kind of trauma for your children. Yes, there will be.
Are there penalties for parents who expose their children?
Oh Yeah.
There should be penalties.
There is.
If we need to have a saner society moving on.
Yes, there is. And particularly Lagos State carries it out. One is that once, in fact, we encourage people now, if you see something, say something. See something. Don't. So it may be your neighbors. Once they realize that this is the style that you are doing, they will just call this DSVRT. That see, there's a domestic situation that is always happening here, and there are children here. You will see us just come and we'll pack your children.
Yes.
When you are okay. Or we'll ask you to come and be checking.
Because if as my neighbor, I see you do this and your child comes tomorrow and says, "Oh, we grew up together."
Very well through DSVRT. They are doing that very, very well. You see caring neighbors make calls. Even in fact, if it's your domestic staff, maybe you have a help in the house and you are mistreating the help. And in these days, you see people who carry, before you know it, the video is online. Everybody is even talking about it. So nothing is hidden anymore.
Okay, quickly, let's talk about support systems that exist or that are missing for rehabilitating rescued child abusers or abused.
Okay, so when you talk about support system, when
that exist or that are missing.
Well, for now, because we are just Lagos State government, and I think the country at large, we are now beginning to shift our focus to see that this is actually an issue, and a lot is going into that. There are a lot of homes now that are that have come up. There are shelters rather that Lagos State is running now for this type of issues. So when children are rescued, they take them in. This is not correctional facility. There are homes.
Okay.
They call them homes. Yes, shelters where these children are put, and then there are professionals that attend to them in these places, right? And a lot of tracing is done by the Ministry of Youth and Sports, rather, to see where they can locate their family member. And we already have a family court also that helps to deal. Some of these children, we don't find them, and so they are giving up for adoption. They are giving up for fostering. They are giving up. So a lot of that is what happens at the family court that we have all around Lagos State. So they are rehabilitated at the home. We have counselors, we have psychologists that visit them there for therapy. And where we are unable to trace their family members, we have such children put in foster homes
because
and they are monitored.
Because these children are still growing. Are there chances that there is a certain age a child gets to that you might not necessarily be able to rehabilitate the child, or it might be difficult to rehabilitate the child? Or is there a particular age, that a child should not be exposed to any form of abuse?
No child should be exposed to abuse. It's not even about age. In fact, from pregnancy, a woman that is pregnant should not be exposed to abuse. Yes, because the child will pick it up. Science has told us.
Wow.
Science has told us that whatever emotional pattern or form that the woman that is pregnant is going through while she's pregnant, affects the child. So you never know. So it's not even about age, and no child should be exposed to abuse. However, we don't give up on any child. So it's not even about age. We have adults that have found themselves in drugs, in whatever. They're still being rehabilitated today.
Sure.
Tolani is one of them. She made the news. So it's not about age. Anytime help comes, we encourage them to take the help and, go through it and become better. And a lot of people have been rehabilitated and they are better people today.
All right, then before I let you go on the program today, a word for parents, guardians, and a word for the children themselves. From the age of whatever age right now, listening to us at this time, they're still a part of the society. Can you give a word of advice?
Yeah, for parents, my advice would be this. Your children will treat themselves the way you treat yourself. I'm going to say that again. Your children will treat themselves the way you treat yourself. The way you treat yourself, because that's what they are looking at. That's what they see. So if they see you as a nonchalant, non-available, untrustworthy, liar, whatever, that's what they become.
They mirror you.
That's the word. So please, parents, see it as a call for duty to responsibility. With children, please be responsible. Now, children, my advice is also going to be that have a vision for yourself, desire to be better than your parents. And this is not going to be by prayer alone. You also need to put in the work. So be careful with the association that you keep. And, be careful with what you expose yourself to online. As much as you need to give yourself to learning and education, you also owe yourself the responsibility to become somebody that is great and somebody that is of honor. So the responsibility is on everybody. As your parents are trying to mirror for you good parents, children also, do not let the work go to waste.
All right, then. I think we should, dwell more on the part that the child should identify and, invest more time in themselves, identify themselves, and have a dream of what they really want for themselves.
Exactly.
All right, then. I have been speaking with Barrister Dorcas at Tinuke. She is a legal practitioner with over 15 years of experience, specializing in family law, including matrimonial courses, child rights, will, probate, and maritime consulting. Also a chartered arbitrator. I must say a very big thank you to you for coming on the program this afternoon. This is where we get to draw the curtains. I'm afraid we're running out of time. This program was proudly supported by Rely Supply Limited, providers of first aid boxes and training. For brand promotion on the radio or to access our services, call 0818-1313-156 or message 0908-629-7109. My name is Taiwo Barua. The program makes a return next week, Tuesday at 5:30. Until then, enjoy the rest of your evening, Lagos.